I've put my jacket on again. I thought I should just be a bit more formal. Okay, right. Let's talk about building your profile on LinkedIn. I use that phrase because it's got multiple meanings. Obviously, building your LinkedIn profile, right, the physical thing that represents you on the site, and then building your reputation on LinkedIn, both equally relevant. Step one is just make sure that your LinkedIn profile, the thing that represents you, is complete or functionally complete. Now, what I mean by that is make sure you have a really good profile photo. Get a professional profile photo. Hopefully, your company will help you with that. If they don't, get a photographer, get you and all the other DAs, get together and just arrange your own profile photo shoot, right, for each of you. Or talk to HR and see if they've got a regular photographer who comes down and does stuff on a regular basis, right? Because LinkedIn profile photos, many companies insist upon professional ones. Many big consultancies where their people are often out, being sold out to market, they will insist and give you really, really good professional photos. Every year they'll update them, for example. Look at the background, fix the background. Don't have the default LinkedIn background. Put something up there. Sometimes there will be a company policy or a set of resources that you can download and upload onto LinkedIn. So a company approved background, for example. It goes, well, I was going to say it goes without saying. It doesn't go without saying. Please follow, bold, underlined, the company's social media policy. Go and read it. Go and read it. Be really sensitive about sharing anything publicly about your company that you wouldn't want broadcast on CNN or Sky News or something. Okay, that's a quick barometer, right? If you wouldn't want that on CNN, then don't publish it. Don't publish anything that you're concerned about. Don't publish anything that you're worried about. So read the social media policy. And the social media policy will often govern profile photo. It may request that you have a good one. It may request the following, X, Y, Z, please don't have any beach shots or something. That may say, please, if you're going to be active on LinkedIn, please use our backgrounds. And here they are. Right. Having done your background and your photo, byline, yes, give some thought to the byline, the thing underneath your name. But then the about section. Introduce yourself. Now, I'm constantly in TikTok Live saying, please, please, please make it 4 or 5 paragraphs. Introduce yourself in the about section. Why? People want to know, right? So I've been banging on. How many times have I talked about networking internally, externally? So a primary tool for finding out about you for all of these different constituents we've been discussing, right? The primary tool will be LinkedIn. Yes, there's an intranet. Yes, there may be an internal social network, which have a profile as well. But your LinkedIn profile is really important. So your about section is briefing that person you met at that five-a-side. It's briefing that individual you met at that event. It's briefing the senior executive who's agreed to have a meeting with you, right, at your request to talk about their career background and so on, and who's looking you up on LinkedIn as well, right? So there's a whole host of people here, not least internal HR and then external HR from other companies and other external recruiters keeping an eye on you to come and get you later on once you've finished your course, right? So a good about section, I think, is recommended. Introduce yourself across 4 or 5 paragraphs. Now, a lot of people say, well, what's that template? What's that template? I don't think there is necessarily a template. It's about who are you? What are you doing? Describe you. Any passions or things that are relevant from a work standpoint. And then anything else we should know, right? So just 4 or 5 paragraphs, right? If someone says, tell me about you, what would you be saying professionally, right? Stick it in. So expand. So we've got the about section. Then under experience, make sure you fill that experience section out. That's important. Then under that, you have other options for projects, any personal projects, any projects from university, any projects internally, Now, be very sensitive about internal projects that you can talk about. If in doubt, check with your line manager if you're allowed to publish. Get approvals if you're in doubt. Okay? Anything confidential shouldn't go anywhere near LinkedIn, fundamentally. Right? So you need to balance this. But try and complete your LinkedIn as much as you can. So honors and awards. If you get an internal award, check with your line manager. Am I allowed to put this on LinkedIn? I'm sure, 8 times out of 10, yes. Right? Yeah, employee of the month equivalent, fine. Right? That's okay. That you can celebrate that. Okay. Promotions, yes, etc., right? Where your job title is going to change and so on. But if in doubt, ask. But try and fill out your profile. Honors and awards of any voluntary work you might be doing and so on. It's interesting. It gives people something to talk about with you when they're interacting with you. Finally, LinkedIn recommendations. I think they're really powerful. Roughly speaking, half the headhunters and hiring managers I speak to think LinkedIn recommendations are useless. The other half think they're business critical. That's roughly my experience, right? So there is no right and wrong answer here. And just as I said right at the top, chapter 1, this is just my view. I think they're important. I think they're useful. I use them all the time. I scroll to the bottom to see what do people say about you. Ask your DA colleagues. First of all, step 1 is get them to talk about what it's like working with you. So you do a deal. I'll write you a recommendation. You write me one. Okay? And then do that with your DAs. As you get to know more people, more peers, more graduates, more other colleagues in your team and beyond, you can ask and just say, hey, look, could I get a recommendation? I'll send you one. And usually it's quid pro quo. Okay? Your line manager is a target. You can ask your line manager and senior executives if they'll give you a LinkedIn recommendation. Always offer and just say, look, I'll give you one, right? And follow through to make sure you do give them a recommendation. Many line managers are really keen to be asked. Yes, it's a bit of an effort having to write something about you, right? But they also want you to say nice things about them, right? They want constructive, good recommendations about their line management skills because they're looking for their next promotion or their next job internally or externally. Right? So LinkedIn recommendations, I think, are very, very helpful. Now, let me also talk about posting. I think there's a whole other course about how to build a personal brand on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of resource out there. I'm not going to cover that here because I think it's too in-depth. I do think that the more connections you have, the better for serendipity purposes, right? But then think about what your policy is. So this is a step before making a personal LinkedIn brand, right? Step before that, or step down from there, is say, look, if you've got 200 followers, 1,000 followers, whatever, how often are you expecting and expected to update them? That's 1,000 people, for example, or 200 people that said, yes, I would like to know about you. I've connected to you. Yes. So they are expecting to hear. Daily might be a bit much to begin with. Yearly might be too little. So could you, for example, could you do an update every month, every quarter? A lot of individuals go, what do I write? It's cringe. What do I write? Well, keep it simple then. You can simply say, look, it's been 6 months since I started. Reflecting on my experience, here are the 3 things I've learned, or 3 things I'm thinking about, or something like that, right? So you can give some thought to anything like that you can be posting. So it's an update for everybody. Certainly, as you're going through your DA every year, right? There's going to be news. I'm now entering my 2nd year, and I'm delighted. Thank you to the organization. Thank you to the uni for their support. Thank you to HR manager, line manager, blah blah blah. Right? You can also be saying, it's the end of the year. Here's what I'm thinking, or reflecting on 2025. I'm going to try and really focus on this. There is an aspect of cringe, I know, but really it's about talking, communicating with these followers, the people have said, yes, I'd like to know more. So you're keeping them up to date, right? So they're following what's new with you. If in doubt, if you're struggling, if you're wondering what to post and you do want to remain active, and I think being active is good for all sorts of algorithmic reasons, it's good discipline, I think, as well. What you can do is play it super safe. Super safe. Find your company on LinkedIn, the company's page. Hopefully your company will have a regular social media strategy going on. Anything that's relevant or interesting to you, you can just press share and do a repost. Repost with commentary. Now, it's not as good, of course, as hearing from you directly, right, and how things are going with you, but it's a great second option to simply say, look, so let's assume there's a new version of the mobile app. You can say, very exciting, right? So the company will do its formal announcement. You then just repost it with a comment and just say, very exciting. Well done, everyone. I'm looking forward to using it, right? Stuff that is easy, simple. It is not no risk of being offensive. It doesn't, if it's published on CNN, nobody cares. You're just supportive. You're not overly supportive, et cetera, right? Okay. You're not saying anything contentious. Keep it very simple. Follow the social media guidelines set out by the company and their policy. But sharing their media, sharing their stuff, not too often, right? But that can be your once a month. If you've got nothing else to think about and you're not sure, share an update that caught your attention from your company. There we go. Okay.